After sacrificing everything for them, I took my revenge by canceling every transfer and forcing my family to face life without my support. I stand alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the aftermath of Thanksgiving dinner. Crystal wine glasses catch the soft pendant lights, half empty and abandoned on my granite countertops. A caterer quietly stacks plates in the background, avoiding my gaze as I stare at my phone, my fingers white against the screen. My father's voice plays through the speaker, each word a precise, calculated cut. "All you do is take, Sloan. You've never given this family anything that matters." The message ends. I hit replay. His voice fills the silence again, the same cutting words. My breathing feels shallow, caught somewhere between disbelief and something harder, something with edges. "All you do is take." I press my palm against the cool countertop to steady myself. The caterers move around me like I'm a statue they need to avoid. One of them drops a fork with a sharp clatter that makes me flinch. 3 hours earlier, I'd been arranging fresh flowers in the entryway when the doorbell rang. My stomach had tightened, that familiar knot of hope and dread that accompanied every family gathering. I smoothed my camel cashmere sweater, checked my reflection in the hallway mirror, and opened the door with a smile that felt both genuine and rehearsed. "Mom, Dad," I'd said, stepping back to welcome them in. "Happy Thanksgiving." Mom swept past me, her critical gaze already scanning my foyer. "Those curtains are new. A bit dramatic for this space, don't you think?" Dad merely nodded in my direction, distracted by a call he refused to end even as he crossed my threshold. I swallowed the first ripple of disappointment. "The caterers are setting up in the dining room. Can I get you something to drink?" Before either could answer, Tessa's BMW pulled into the driveway. My sister emerged in a cloud of expensive perfume, her perfect blowout unmoved by the November breeze. Cody trailed behind her, hungover and unshaven but still managing his trademark charming smile. "Sloan," Tessa said, air-kissing near my cheek. "You look tired. Business keeping you up?" "Business is good," I replied, choosing not to mention the all-nighter I'd pulled to finish the hotel lobby design that would pay for this dinner. No one offered to help as I moved between the kitchen and dining room. They sat in my living room, drinking the wine I'd carefully selected, critiquing my choice of artwork while I confirmed the caterer's timing and checked place settings. When we finally gathered around the table, imported linens, heirloom china I'd sourced myself, Dad cleared his throat for a toast. I felt a flicker of warmth, thinking, maybe this time. "To family," he said, raising his glass. "The people who always come through when it matters most." My smile froze as his gaze passed over me without landing. The others nodded in solemn agreement, as if they were the ones who had saved the family home during the pandemic, as if they had been the ones making monthly transfers to cover Tessa's divorce attorney or Cody's perpetually late rent. "The turkey looks dry," Mom whispered loudly as I served her plate. Later, as dessert plates were cleared, Tessa pulled me aside with that particular smile that always preceded a request. "The boys need new hockey equipment," she began, "with the divorce settlement still pending." I barely heard the rest. My mind flashed to the $45,000 I'd loaned my parents in 2020, with a formal agreement drafted by my lawyer, Daniel, money that had never been acknowledged since, let alone repaid. I thought about the lakeside cabin I'd purchased outright, a place where my family could gather, where perhaps they might finally see me. They'd used it constantly but never once thanked me. Now, standing in my empty kitchen, I unlock my phone and open my banking app. The list of recurring transfers stares back at me. $2,000 monthly to my parents, $1,500 to Tessa, $950 to Cody for his temporary housing situation that had lasted 3 years. My father's voice echoes again in my head. "You've never given this family anything that matters." A single tear slides down my cheek, leaving a cool trail that feels like clarity. My finger hovers over the first recurring payment, then I press cancel, and the next, and the next. My breath comes easier with each cancellation. The kitchen suddenly feels larger, as if the walls have moved back an inch. The caterer glances at me curiously as a small sound escapes my lips, something between a laugh and a gasp. "If I've never given anything," I whisper, tucking my phone away, "then I suppose I can stop giving now." The next day, or dawn to be more precise, I slide my small leather weekender into the trunk of my car before sunrise. The neighborhood sleeps, blinds drawn, porch lights casting puddles of yellow on empty driveways. My hands shake slightly as I check my phone one last time, the screen blurry through unshed tears. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, all from people who apparently need something from a woman they claim never gives. The cabin outside Portland, I whisper to myself as I start the engine, the dashboard clock reading 5:17 a.m. 3 hours after canceling those payments. Sleep had become impossible. Each time I closed my eyes, my father's voice played on repeat. All you do is take. I pull away from the Georgian colonial I'd renovated myself, with its perfect symmetry and carefully curated interior that none of my family had ever truly appreciated. The tires whisper against wet pavement as I leave Austin behind. Texas Hill Country unfolds in my rearview mirror, still cloaked in darkness. My fingertips hover over my phone as I drive north. One button, airplane mode, feels like a declaration of independence. Let them wonder, I whisper, pressing it firmly. The silence that follows feels like the first clean breath after years of swimming underwater. By mid-morning, I cross the Oklahoma border. A light snow dusts the roadside, transforming the landscape into something unrecognizable from the home I left behind. Perfect metaphor, I think, allowing myself the smallest smile. 3 days later, I stand on the deck of a cedar cabin tucked into a dense Oregon forest. Pine and petrichor fill my lungs. No one knows I'm here except Daniel, my lawyer, who promised discretion. Mist hangs between tall trees, obscuring their tops, like the fog that's finally lifting from my mind. I spread my sketchbook on the rough-hewn table, pencil moving across the page without conscious thought. Designs flow that have nothing to do with client requests or family approval. Just pure creativity, unburdened. For the first time in years, I sleep through the night. Meanwhile, in Austin, my phone, charging but silenced on the kitchen counter of my empty house, collects their panic like a digital confession booth. Sloan, my car payment bounced. Call me immediately. Tessa's voice is shrill, indignant, as if my money has always been hers by right. Hey sis, something weird happened with my rent. The landlord's threatening eviction. Need to talk as soon as possible. Cody's artificial casualness barely masks his alarm. Sloan Elizabeth, this isn't funny. The mortgage notifications say call us back this instant. My mother's voice breaks on the last word. Their messages pile up as days turn to weeks. From demand to confusion to anger to fear, the arc of entitlement facing its first real challenge. I lose track of time in my woodland sanctuary. I hike until my muscles burn. I sketch until my hand cramps. I sit by the fireplace and watch flames dance, mesmerized by their constant change, their hungry beauty. On my final morning, 3 weeks after my departure, I stand at the cabin's picture window, watching an eagle circle above the pines. I've booked this place for several more weekends throughout the coming year. My escape hatch, my breathing room. I'm ready, I tell the eagle, though it can't hear me through the glass. The drive back to Texas feels different. The land no longer looks like something I'm leaving, but something I'm choosing. My hands rest easy on the steering wheel. My shoulders drop from my ears, where they've lived for years. I arrive home after midnight. My house welcomes me with familiar smells, lemon and furniture polish, the faint spice of the potpourri I mixed myself. I water my neglected plants and run my fingers over the spines of books on my shelves, all mine, chosen with care. Morning light streams through east-facing windows, catching dust motes in golden beams. I stand in my kitchen, coffee warming my palms through ceramic, and turn off airplane mode. My phone convulses with notifications, hundreds of them. Text messages, voicemails, emails, the digital equivalent of a temper tantrum. The final one from yesterday is a voicemail from Tessa. They repossessed my car today, her voice breaks. In front of the boys. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? What kind of sister are you? I set my coffee down and type a single message to the family group chat. Thought I never gave this family anything. The responses flood in instantly. Where have you been? How could you do this to us? We've been worried sick. Is this some kind of breakdown? Not one message contains the word sorry. I call Daniel's office and schedule a meeting for tomorrow. Then I silence my phone again and walk to my design table. Sunlight pours across the surface, illuminating the sketches I've brought back from Oregon. Designs untainted by obligation or expectation. I run my fingers over the paper, feeling the slight indentations where my pencil pressed hardest. These designs are mine alone, born from silence and space and something that feels dangerously like freedom. My father's voice still echoes sometimes. All you do is take. But now I hear what's hidden beneath those words, his fear that I might stop giving. I pick up my pencil and add a final line to my sketch, bold and unwavering, the foundation of everything to come. The next day, the landline in my office rings for the 7th time this morning. I watch the cord sway with each shrill ring, refusing to reach for it. My assistant, Margot, appears in the doorway, her silver-framed glasses catching the light. "Your mother again," she says, her voice gentle but firm. "Want me to tell her you're in a client meeting?" I nod, turning my attention back to the hotel lobby sketches spread across my drafting table. The Marquee project represents the largest contract of my career, a complete redesign of their downtown Austin property, 60,000 square feet of possibility. "And Sloan?" Margot lingers. Cody's downstairs in the lobby again. The pencil in my hand snaps. I set the broken pieces down carefully, controlling my breathing the way Daniel suggested during our last meeting. "Tell him I'm unavailable," I say, straightening my spine, "and that if he shows up intoxicated at my office again, I'll have security escort him out." Margot nods, her eyes softening with something between concern and admiration. 3 weeks have passed since I canceled the payments. 3 weeks of escalating panic from my family. 3 weeks of discovering my own backbone. 20 minutes later, the elevator chimes its arrival downstairs, followed by the unmistakable sound of Cody's voice rising in volume. "You can't keep avoiding us!" His words carry clearly through the open office layout. "Mom needs her medication. Do you even care?" My hands tremble slightly. I wait for the wash of guilt that usually follows any family confrontation. It doesn't come. The security guard's lower voice rumbles in response, followed by the sharp ding of the elevator doors closing. Silence follows. My phone vibrates against the table. Tessa's third text of the morning. "Mom's blood pressure is through the roof because of you. Hope you're happy playing victim while your family suffers." I place the phone face down and return to my sketches. The irony isn't lost on me that while my family life crumbles, my professional life blooms. Yesterday, the Marquee owners approved my preliminary designs without a single revision, a first in my career. The door opens without a knock. Daniel strides in, his leather briefcase swinging lightly against his leg. Without a word, he places a folder on my desk. "They're contesting the cabin deed," he says, loosening his tie. "Claiming you purchased it under false pretenses as a family property, not a personal one." I laugh without humor. False pretenses? I have emails where they specifically asked for a lakeside property with at least 4 bedrooms. Daniel settles into the chair across from my drafting table. "They're also telling people you're having some sort of breakdown." I taste the word, breakdown, because I stopped paying their bills. "Your cousin Leah called my office this morning," Daniel says, watching my reaction. "Wanted me to know your parents, have been telling the extended family you're mentally unstable." My stomach tightens. Leah and I grew up close, before distance, and adult lives pulled us apart. The thought of her hearing these lies makes something shift in my chest. "What did she say?" I ask, my voice smaller than I'd like. Daniel's face breaks into a rare smile. "She said," and I quote, "Tell Sloan it's about damn time she stopped carrying them." Something uncoils inside me. Someone sees. Someone understands. My phone buzzes again. A family group text from my father. "Your behavior is destroying this family. We've always supported your little design business. This is how you repay us?" Little design business. The business that paid their mortgage for 2 years. The business that funded Tessa's divorce attorney. The business that keeps a roof over Cody's head. I slide the phone toward Daniel. "Add this to the evidence folder." He nods, slipping it into his briefcase. "The 90-day notice was delivered yesterday. They have until the 15th of March to repay the loan." The 15th of March, 12 more weeks until the reckoning. I picture the calendar in my mind, marking off the days until I reclaim what's mine, not just the money, but my dignity. "They'll escalate," I say, not a question, but a certainty. "Count on it," Daniel replies, standing and straightening his jacket. "Have you considered staying somewhere else until this blows over? Your address is public record." I nod, and we create a plan. 2 hours later, Margot appears again, her expression tight. "Tessa's downstairs with her kids," she says. "The receptionist says the boys are running around the lobby, pulling fabric samples off the walls. My nieces, emotional ammunition." I feel a stab of genuine pain, missing their sticky hands and gap-toothed smiles. But using children as pawns crosses a line even I hadn't anticipated. "Have security ask them to leave," I say, my voice steady despite the churning in my stomach. "Tell Tessa she can schedule an appointment if she needs to speak with me professionally." Margot nods, retreating to make the call. Daniel gives me an appraising look. "You're stronger than they expected," he says. The compliment sits uncomfortably. Strength wasn't what I wanted from this family, just reciprocity, just acknowledgement. My computer pings with an email notification. The subject line makes my breath catch. Urgent. Mom in hospital. Your fault. I close the laptop without opening it. Another manipulation tactic. Last week, it was Dad's heart palpitations. The week before, Cody's threatened eviction. If they actually needed the money for a medical emergency, they could sell the boat, I say. More to myself than to Daniel. The boat they bought after I paid for their new roof. Daniel's phone rings. He checks the screen and grimaces. It's your father. 4th time today. Block the number, I say, turning back to my designs. All of them. After Daniel leaves, I stand at my office window overlooking downtown Austin. The winter sunlight catches on glass buildings, creating patterns of light and shadow across the cityscape. For a moment, I see the world as a series of designs, clean lines, intentional spaces, purpose in every element. My family has no clean lines, no intentional spaces, just demands that expand to fill whatever I provide. My phone vibrates with a text from an unknown number. My mother, using someone else's phone, your father and I gave you everything. We sacrificed for your education, for this selfish behavior to be our repayment. I place the phone in my desk drawer and close it firmly. The calendar on my wall shows today's date with a red circle around the 15th of March, the foreclosure date if they don't repay what they owe. Not just money, respect, acknowledgement, truth. I turn back to my designs, my hands steady as I adjust the line of a curved wall, creating space for light to enter from an unexpected angle. On auction day, I adjust my silk blouse in the rearview mirror, a simple, cream-colored piece without embellishment. The statement will be in my actions today, not my attire. The auction sign reflects in my windshield as I pull onto the familiar street where I grew up. Morning light casts long shadows across manicured lawns, the kind of neighborhood where people pretend not to watch while seeing everything. My morning ritual had been deliberate. Strong black coffee, 15 minutes of breathing exercises. Daniel's reassuring phone call confirming all legal bases covered. The spare key to my parents' house sits abandoned on my kitchen counter, a small brass reminder of ties severed. You're sure about this? Daniel had asked. I've never been more certain of anything, I'd answered, my voice steadier than it had any right to be. Now, turning into the familiar driveway, my certainty falters for the first time since Thanksgiving. Not from doubt, but from the spectacle awaiting me. They stand assembled like troops defending territory, my entire family forming a human barricade before the auction sign. Dad at the center, shoulders squared in the same posture he'd used to intimidate mortgage brokers and car salesmen for decades. Mom beside him, handkerchief clutched to her mouth, eyes red-rimmed and accusing. Tessa with her arms crossed, designer sunglasses pushed atop her perfect hair. Cody, unshaven and hollow-eyed, hands jammed into the pockets of jeans that probably still carry my fingerprints on the bills that bought them. Mrs. Lawson from across the street waters her geraniums with suspicious dedication. The Hendersons slow their morning walk to a casual crawl. I park, turn off the engine, and sit in momentary silence. The inside of my car feels like the eye of a hurricane, the last pocket of calm before stepping into the storm they've prepared. Dad strides toward my car before I can fully exit. What do you think you're doing? Exactly what the certified letter explained I would do, I say, shutting the car door with a gentle click that somehow sounds like a gunshot in the morning quiet. Your mother hasn't slept in weeks. His voice drops to that private register he used for family shaming. Is this really what you want? To destroy the people who raised you? The laugh escapes before I can contain it, a sound so foreign that Tessa flinches. Raised me, or used me. Mom steps forward, handkerchief now dabbing at invisible tears. We gave you everything, Sloan. A beautiful home, good schools, mounting debt and impossible expectations. I finish for her. Which reminds me, how's that $45,000 loan repayment coming along? Dad's face transforms, anger dissolving into something calculated and unctuous. Sweetheart, we've always supported your little design business. Remember how proud we were when you got that first big contract? The one you told Uncle Robert was only offered to me because the client wanted to sleep with me? The words slip out like perfectly sharpened knives. Yes, I remember. You're blowing things out of proportion, Tessa interjects, stepping forward. Families say things they don't mean sometimes. Then you didn't mean it when you told your divorce attorney I'd cover your legal fees indefinitely? I retrieve my phone, scrolling to find the text. Let me quote you. Sloane's good for it. She's always good for it. Cody finally speaks, voice cracking slightly. We always believed in your dreams. No, you believed in my bank account, I say, straightening my spine, feeling taller with each word. You believed I would never stop giving. The auctioneer's car appears at the end of the street, followed by 3 vehicles I recognize from the inspection day. Potential buyers. Dad's voice drops to a hissing whisper. You'll regret this for the rest of your life. I reach into my purse and withdraw the printed transcript of his Thanksgiving voicemail. The paper trembles slightly in the morning breeze as I hold it up. "All you do is take, Sloan. You've never given this family anything that matters." I read his words back to him, each syllable a small, precise revenge. "I'm simply honoring your assessment." Mom begins to wail. A performance worthy of community theater. Tessa rushes to console her while shooting daggers at me with her eyes. "My children will never know their aunt after this. I'll make sure of it." The auctioneer approaches, clipboard in hand, nodding professionally at the family tableau. "You don't get to threaten me anymore," I say, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. Steady, clear, uncompromising. "You didn't see me when I gave everything. You don't get to see me now that I'm taking it back." I turn toward the auctioneer and extend my hand. "Mr. Calloway, I believe we're ready to begin." 3 months later, I stand in the center of an empty adobe-style house, my footsteps echoing against terracotta tiles. Morning light filters through uncurtained windows, casting golden rectangles across bare walls. The realtor watches me from the doorway, giving me space as I absorb every detail. "The previous owners maintained the original vigas," she says, pointing to the exposed wooden ceiling beams, hundreds of years old. My fingers trace the rough-hewn texture of a wall. Santa Fe sits 700 miles from my old life in Austin, a distance measured in more than just geography. "The courtyard gets wonderful afternoon sun," the realtor continues, "perfect for coffee or reading." I step outside into the small enclosed patio. A wind chime tinkles softly. The Sangre de Cristo Mountains rise purple against the horizon, ancient witnesses to countless fresh starts. "I'll take it," I say. The realtor blinks, surprised. "Don't you want to see the rest of the properties I lined up?" I shake my head. This one feels right. 2 hours later, I sit across from her at a notary's office, signing paperwork for a house half the size of my Austin home. Each signature feels like setting down another heavy stone I've been carrying. When the final document is complete, the realtor hands me a single key. "Congratulations," she says. "It's a beautiful home." "No," I correct her gently, "it's becoming one." That evening I unpack only what I need: a small suitcase, my drafting table, and 1 box of essential kitchen items. The rest remains in storage until I decide what parts of my old life deserve space in the new one. I unfold my drafting table by the largest window and clip a fresh sheet of paper to its surface. As the sun sets, painting the mountains in watercolor shades of pink and orange, I create my first design sketch in Santa Fe, not for a client, but for myself. The simple act of putting pencil to paper washes a calm through me that I haven't felt in years. My phone buzzes, a text from Daniel. "Your parents moved into the West Side apartments yesterday, 2-bedroom. Tessa helped them." I set the phone down without responding. Another text follows. "Cody took a job at Miller Construction, full-time with benefits." A small smile lifts the corner of my mouth, not because I take pleasure in their reduced circumstances, but because reality has finally arrived for my family, bringing its harsh but necessary lessons. My cousin Leah calls the following week. I answer while unpacking books in what will become my small home office. "Mom told me everything," she says. "The auction, Santa Fe, all of it." I pause, a design anthology balanced in my hand, and I'm bringing homemade bread when I visit next month. Her voice warms the line. "Unless you'd prefer wine?" "Both," I answer, surprised by the laugh that bubbles up from somewhere deep. "Both it is. Clients find me even before my website lists my new address." Word travels in design circles, and within weeks, my calendar fills with consultations. These projects carry a different energy, chosen for their creative potential rather than their ability to fund family emergencies. One evening, while hanging a series of architectural prints in my bedroom, my phone chimes with an email notification. The subject line reads simply, "From Tessa." I sit on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, thumb hovering over the screen. For several minutes, I breathe through the complex storm of emotions her name still triggers. Then I open it. I get it now. "I'm sorry." 6 words. No explanations, no excuses, no requests. Just 6 words that arrive months late. I read them again, then again. Tears blur my vision as I set the phone on my nightstand. Not because her apology heals anything, but because it confirms what I already knew. I made the right choice by leaving. Instead of responding, I archive the email, not from anger, but because those 6 words belong to her journey, not mine. My healing doesn't require her understanding, though part of me hopes she finds her own. The cabin decision comes in weeks later. I drive up for a weekend, unlocking the door to memories both beautiful and painful. Family photos still hang on pine-paneled walls, frozen smiles and careful poses that captured the illusion we maintained for years. I take each one down, stacking them in a cardboard box. In their place, I hang framed quotes about courage and transformation. By Sunday afternoon, the cabin breathes differently, its purpose clarified. On the drive back to Santa Fe, I make calls to women's business networks about hosting retreats for entrepreneurs rebuilding their lives. From Family Hideaway to Phoenix Workshop, my first client says when she sees the space, perfect symmetry. The cabin that once housed my family's entitlement now shelters women learning to rise. Sometimes healing arrives not in what we keep, but in how we transform what broke us. 1 year later, I stand barefoot on my Santa Fe patio, watching the sunrise paint the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in shades of amber and rose. I wrap my hands around a ceramic mug, the warmth seeping into my palms. No phone buzzes in my pocket, no anxious knot tightens my stomach. "You look peaceful," says Daniel, leaning against the adobe doorframe. Our relationship has evolved from lawyer to friend to something neither of us rushes to define. He wears faded jeans and holds his own coffee, his presence comfortable in my space. I answer simply. Inside, my home reflects my transformed life. Smaller than my Austin house, but filled with intention. A hand-woven rug from a local artisan anchors my living room. Copper pendant lights cast warm pools on my drafting table, where blueprints for the Women's Business Retreat Center await final approval. The doorbell chimes. "That'll be Margot," I say, patting across the cool tile floor. "She's bringing the birthday cake." My former assistant followed me to Santa Fe, now a junior partner in our expanding firm. Behind Margot comes Leah, cousin and unexpected ally, arms full of wildflowers. No one celebrates birthdays like someone who spent decades making other people's special days perfect while neglecting her own, Leah announces, placing the flowers on the kitchen counter. My laughter, a sound that once emerged rarely, now flows freely. By evening, my patio glows with string lights and candles. 8 people gather around my table, friends who know my story, who have never asked for more than I offered, who brought dishes and washed glasses without being asked. "Before we cut this masterpiece," Margot says, gesturing to the simple lemon cake, "I want to toast our birthday girl." I brace myself, a lifetime habit. "To the woman who taught me that generosity without boundaries isn't generosity at all," Margot continues, raising her glass, "who showed me that walking away isn't failure, it's sometimes the bravest choice." To Sloan, the others echo. Something expands in my chest. Not pride exactly, but acceptance. Later, when only Daniel remains, helping load the dishwasher, my phone lights up with a notification. Tessa's yearly attempt at contact, right on schedule. "You don't have to read it," Daniel says, noticing my hesitation. "I know," I say, tucking the phone away without opening the message. Not from anger. The rage burned clean months ago. But from certainty. Some doors stay closed, not because we're holding grudges, but because we found better rooms to live in. The next morning, I drive to the cabin retreat center. What had once been my family's weekend getaway now houses women rebuilding lives shattered by circumstance or choice. The sign at the entrance reads, "Your worth is not measured by what you give away." A young designer named Alicia waits on the porch, a portfolio clutched to her chest. I recognize the hunger for validation in her eyes. "My parents think interior design is glorified shopping," Alicia blurts as we sit down. "They want me in law school." I nod. "Show me your work first, then we'll talk about parents." After reviewing Alicia's promising portfolio, I pour us both iced tea. "People confuse love with usefulness," I say simply. "I spent 3 decades trying to earn approval through sacrifice. But real love sees you even when you stop providing." "Did your family ever understand?" Alicia asks. I smile. That was never the point. As the sun dips toward the horizon, I sit alone on the cabin dock, feet skimming the water. Where silence had once meant suppression, it now means peace. My phone remains in the cabin. Unanswered texts a distant concern. I built my life on silence. I whisper to the rippling lake, not because I had nothing to say, but because what I said finally mattered.